Hi, my name is Alex, and that's my first video, and I decided to name my channel in a peculiar way, um, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of questions about it, so I decided to start off with just talking about me being the end-time villain. So, I guess I should probably try to talk about how my early life. It was not easy. After middle school, my life was probably normal up until middle school. After middle school, I got pretty sick, and it was kind of was manageable. But then I graduated high school. I went to a university, and I dropped out. I just couldn't concentrate. Couldn't. It was really getting pretty bad. So I dropped out, and I went back home. And it got worse. Fortunately, a treatment was found that really transformed my life, and so I really made a huge transformational improvement. Went back to college. Was basically after that I went back to college and did very well. Was an honors student, and then went to university, graduated that honors. I chose an engineering degree, and had a career in engineering for about maybe about 8 years, from about 2011 to 2021. So, now I'm out of work. I have been out of work since 2021. I think God had pulled me out of the job that I was in. They had my guides, and God had different plans. Christian-wise, I was a very strong Christian very early in my life. Very strong. I wanted to be saved. Wanted to end up in heaven. It was my dream to end up in heaven. I wanted to avoid the Antichrist. Obviously, I was gonna be raptured and avoid him. So I had those beliefs, and I always had this fear about going to hell, especially up until a certain point in my life, I had a fear of going to hell, and that was it was a horrible situation, and that helped guide me through the early part of my life. After COVID came, I stopped going to church because it was, I don't know, it was a combination of COVID and my guys pulled me out. So until recently, that was when COVID started. Recently, though, God asked me to go back to church when I was in New York State, and I went for a couple months, but then it became overwhelming, and I stopped going. God told me that it was overwhelming. So so I was a Christian. I still am to some degree. How did I gain this title? Around 2018, or roughly, maybe a year or two there, my guys told me that I was him, and the first thought I had was, okay, is it worth the life that he has, the prophesied life that he is it worth that life for basically for an eternity in hell? And that kind of weighed on me, but I believed that at that point that I was him. So I kind of believed it. Things weren't easy back then. It was still a lot of volatile periods. I still had volatile periods where I would go volatile and wouldn't be unstable. So eventually, though, I was able to still was able to keep my job. I had a period where, I had an issue with medication that was causing me problems. But I was able to stabilize, and about when things were about to, I didn't realize at the time, but when things were I was about to make like a short getaway from. Well, I don't know how to explain it, but I guess you understand it later on. I started what I now look back at as this nation-state attacks. Like when they knew that I was going to get away and the destiny was going to be like pretty much unchangeable, I started getting these contacts. An old friend, just out of nowhere that I haven't heard from in years, started contacting me, and he wanted to communicate. And my guides were like just doing everything they could to stop me from communicating with him, because I didn't realize it was a nation-state attack, some sort of attack that wanted me to lose the mission, basically. The guides were successful. I did not respond to text messages or the friend or other ways, and eventually I reached the milestone, and things got better from there. I was able, I lost the fear of going to hell. I think it didn't seem like noticeable, but things stabilized. So I say that because, and then the attacks would continue even afterwards. There were groups of people that did not want my future for the world. So back to God. Obviously, there's guides. There's God. He guides me. Even every day, basically, he tells me something, tries to guide me. You wonder, if I'm this anti-villain, why would God even help me? He does try to help, and and that's the reason is hindsight. I think is because the Antichrist, with all his evils, he does bring stability to the world, and he does save the world in a sense. Because I noticed that before the milestone, I heard one a woman on YouTube say that the world was very close to the catastrophe. That was the closest to the catastrophe. So I think somehow my wife's stability stabilized the world, basically, or the solutions that I have kind of provide answers to the world to maintain stability. I think if you look at the movie Mission Impossible, they kind of try to save the world for AI, but in the last episodes, but they do mention things like the world on the brink of catastrophe, where there will be endless wars and famines, and that I think was a very real future for the world: endless wars and famines, and that's something that the world was saved from. That was, as bad as you think that person or the character is, he does provide a better future. And we're on a timeline that is, just like the Bible predicted, although some people did not want that timeline. And the path, basically, a timeline this now is sure. Basically, this is my first video. I plan to make other videos, and so please follow my channel. I'll probably talk about my life and maybe analysis what's happening. So, all right, that's it.